Right. So good evening. We will be having the questions of economics being discussed in today's session. So yesterday also we had the discussion relating to economics, and today we will have the content on economics area to a large extent. So how to go for the content on economics, we will deal that, and questions also we will deal one by one, so that we have a good amount of grip in giving the answers for the mains exam. So today will be the last session as such in this area to proceed for the content on economics. So just adjust the video 1 minute. Okay, so we can just proceed with the answers here. The content is that before the commencement of this session, I'll just give you a small idea relating to the batches as such. So now there is a flat 25% of discount given for UPSC subscriptions, and this is available only till July 15th as such. So do contact the academy. They will assist you for all GS and optional batches, and we have a multiple of option and GS batches which can be helpful in terms of preparation. And one more thing, on July 13 there is a commencement of another batch in which you will be having the syllabus getting completed in online mode. Unacademy along with Sriram will be handling the session in online, and you will be getting all the content getting fully covered as per the promised syllabus completion. So it will be a 1-year English batch where they will teach you in terms of the prelims and mains area, plus assistance for interview also will be given in this academy. Right, so this is the content. With this we'll just move on to the content on answer writing. So first question is, do you think India will meet 50% of the energy needs? So first question is that they are asking 50% of energy need can we as such fulfill from renewable energy by the year 2030? Justify your answer. How will the shift of subsidies from fossil fuel to renewable will help to achieve the above objective? Explain. So question is based on multiple parameters. First parameter is that they are asking, is it possible for us to achieve 50% of energy demand by 2030? For this we cannot give any straightforward answer. For example, as UPSC is asking, we can't write yes 100% we can do it, or we cannot write no 100% is impossible to achieve 50% goal and all, therefore by 2030 or 2040 these things will not happen. Both the stand we are not supposed to take in the exam. Be very careful. Next is how the shift of subsidy from fossil fuel to renewable. You know, coal, petrol, diesel, all those things. In that, government of India is doing some amount of subsidy. Now the question arises, suppose if you shift the subsidy from these things, and if you are going for subsidy in case of the renewable, do you think we have a viability to achieve good amount of shift in the fossil fuel to the renewable fuel, which in turn will help to achieve the above objective? This is what the question demands. So first we need to understand whether 50% of energy need from renewable energy is possible or not. To a larger extent, dear friends, please understand, for these type of question, without having the data, we cannot write the answer. Earlier and all what I said, if some answer is there without data also we can manage it. But now the question is based on data. Now common apprehension is that, sir, suppose if we write the answer, suppose in that no data is there, will we be rewarded for this effort what we are taking? Yes, reward will be there, but the problem is you will not be rewarded for the element of demand what you are having. When you write a 15 marker question, you will ask at least 8 marker, but they will give you 2 or 3. What I am saying will be the highest mark without having data supplementing your answer. If datas are there, they will definitely reward you. And for that area, we need to equip ourselves with some amount of data in the renewable energy. So energy is again one of the syllabus word only. See, again and again, I am just getting one message confirm. They are not deviating from syllabus. What is the syllabus they have mentioned, from there only questions are being asked. Therefore, we can tell with conviction that questions are being based on the so-called input what syllabus has given. So keeping that in mind, we can go for the answer writing. First is that why we need to do it and tell whether there is a possibility for it. So Government of India is now planning for renewable energy. And there is a big amount of apprehension that the existing energy what we get from fossil fuels will definitely have an end date. And again, these fossil fuel based energies are also considered to be non-environment friendly. They are not subjected to any big amount of environment friendly nature. When this much of difficulty is there, then we have the only avenue to go for something called as renewable energy as an alternate source. That is one thing. And number two, we can go by the Government of India's Panchamrita, which is the plan we are having. So in that plan, 50% of energy demand each year from renewable source for the 50% of energy demand for each year from renewable source of energy for next 5 years by 2030 is seen as the agenda for the government. So we are also having a plan, and this Panchamrit is considered to be one of the current affair content which surfaced in the newspaper repeatedly. Based on that only our question got designed in the examination. I am not taking obsolete question. Max to max 2020, 21, 22. That's all. In these three areas, we can tell with the strongest conviction that Government of India's plan of Panchamrit is getting practically implemented by way of bringing renewable energy. Why is the renewable energy? Sometimes speaking, one type of energy will have a limitation, and that energy will also become somewhat exhausted. At one point of time, when you find that these energies are getting exhausted, the only other alternative is to go for some other energy, and that we cannot plan overnight. It is not like demonetization where we can order something in the midnight and from next day we can implement them. No, it is not like that. In this area, the limitations what we are having is that the question relating to the aspect of so-called content on the areas of renewable energy is being planned by the government, so that by 2030 we will try to fulfill this demand. So first area we are talking positively. Am I right? Introduction, what I am saying, do not have pessimism. Don't tell that no, it is not possible. You tell with optimism, and for that optimism to be really acceptable, we will go for utilizing certain terms wherein which we get the Government of India's scheme name properly used and getting highlighted. And see, numbers are here. 50% energy demand next 5 years by 2030. All these things are technical terms which we are supposed to employ in our examination. Suppose if we are doing these things and giving an intro, examiner will find interesting to see the next content. Now we will see the content for the body. What is the body? First is that India needs to have a strongest commitment to achieve this particular 50% of demand getting fulfilled from renewable energy. It is not a matter of lip service. It is not something they are saying only orally. In reality, they are not implementing. If you do like that, you will not achieve the success. I am very strong in this. Whenever government is planning for a mega reform, that should be ideal, that should be practical, and government should have a sincere bull's eye perspective to achieve all those things. In this area, we are having a strongest commitment for doing this activity. Additionally, the government is also having a goal to achieve 175 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2022 and target of 450 gigawatt by 2030. These two were the earlier agendas launched by the government. So you see, in the commencement of this answer, I said to you very clearly, without numbers, we are not supposed to write answer for these area. Numbers are very much required. When numbers are very much required, we also have some data to supplement that. Yes, it is possible. It is not negative perception. Am I right? I am not talking about the minus area. Positively speaking, there is a big possibility that India will achieve these things. Then number 3, our subsidies got shifted from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Enough is enough. All subsidies given to fossil fuel, we are going to curtail it because we feel, fundamentally speaking, these fossil fuel subsidy will in turn promote an unclean energy. And this dirty energy, what we are getting from fossil fuel, is not as such right. Therefore, we are having a shift over in terms of the renewable energy subsidy, which is highly subjected to appreciation. Next is that renewable energy, as of now, what we are having is approximately 150 gigawatt. 150 plus gigawatt we are having. Therefore, we are marching in the right direction to achieve what is called as a proper strategy to move towards the element of the so-called renewable energy. In case of India, to achieve this target, we are also establishing solar plant. See, solar park, why we are doing? You all know India is a tropical country. We are having extreme amount of sunlight, and this sunlight can be tapped for the energy extraction, which is otherwise called as the solar energy. And for doing that, the solar photovoltaic cells or the solar parks are getting established, so that the energy from the sun, whatever we are getting, is getting stored in future. These can be utilized for the element of energy usage. And again, one more wonderful fact is that we are considered to be the 4th largest wind power in the world. In the world, we are number 4. This says that renewable energy is definitely having a viability in case of Indian society. Time and again, I am confirming only one message, that is, to achieve these things, we are working so much so that we can make a tremendous amount of improvement in this area. And then falling cost of renewable technology. This is again one of the important enabler which is permitting us to go for renewable energy. Sir, what do you mean by this? Generally speaking, the renewable technology, whatever is available in the globalized world, has now attained the element of extreme R&D, and now they are able to sell the commodity at a cheap prices. When we are having the option to go for cheap prices of renewable technology, we are able to make a tremendous amount of victory. And this is the reason we time and again confirm the message that the aspect of the falling cost of renewable technology is one of the major area why we can achieve the target by 2030. And then most importantly, entire world is witnessing something called as the impact of global warming. You all know what is global warming. We are finding the melting of Arctic Sea and increasing of mean sea level. When mean sea level is increasing, there is a great possibility that all the coastal areas will be getting submerged as such. And this in turn will be bringing huge amount of risk for the entire nation. Entire world needs to face it. Therefore, the world is having an opinion that let's focus on our energy in terms of renewable source. When we do that, our achievement will be really remarkable and laudable. And for this only, we are moving in terms of the renewable source of energy. The country's vision to achieve net zero emission by 2070. The next plan. Though our aim is in 2030 itself, we are having a plan by 2070 where we can achieve net zero emission. There shall be no amount of pollution. For that, renewable energy will be increased to 500 gigawatt by 2030. 50% of all energy demand will be made only from renewable source of energy. You see, one by one, all the information what I am saying to you is being supplemented by facts and figures. Number 3, reducing the cumulative emission by almost, you see the number 1 billion ton. We are having a plan to reduce the cumulative emission. So the cumulative combined emission will get as such drastically reduced to this number of 1 billion, and for this the time available is 2030. At last, we are having a plan to reduce the emission intensity of India's GDP by 45% in 2030. So because of the aspect of this emission, our GDP is getting affected. Therefore, 45% of the effect of this GDP, we just wanted to control to a larger extent. So government of India is having a specific plan to achieve these things. Now, what is the conclusion? Renewable energy is considered to be the best alternate source of energy available to meet the demand of energy for the rising population. With the right strategy and commitment within India and outside India, this target, when achieved, will not only do good for the India but also to other parts of the world, and the similar commitment across the world will improve the longevity of people to an unimagined extent, right? This is what we need to conclude as an answer. So here you see how I am specific in case of answering. I am not telling that it is not possible. I am saying it is possible. I am speaking about Panchamitra. I am speaking about the net zero emission plan what we have in the year 2070, and to achieve that what and all we are doing. I am covering all the area. When these inputs are being covered completely, we have a grand amount of possibility that this area will definitely get improved. So the question on improvement of renewable energy is not only a lip service, rather in reality this can be achieved for sure. Sir, how this can be achieved? For that only I told very clearly, when we fulfill all these conditions, domestic effort, international effort, when both of them are happening simultaneously, we can get a tremendous amount of success. And this success what we are getting will definitely improve the element of India's energy cycle. The energy cycle right now is more dependent on the element of fossil fuel. One reason is that government is also giving good amount of subsidy for fossil fuel. Now government is having a shift plan where they wanted to move towards something called as renewable energy. By doing this, we are not only as such helping the government, rather we are also helping the common man plus environment from getting degraded. Sorry. For example, you have heard about a term called as externality. Directly it will not affect you, indirectly it will have an impact. A simplest example, suppose if you are a non-vegetarian lover and the next place in your residence is being booked by a very famous biryani maker. Daily he prepares the biryani, you get the aroma of biryani. That is called as positive externality. The very next building to your house, Coke company is coming and starting their plant. They are drilling the borewell up to 500 feet, 700 feet. They are sucking all the groundwater. In your house, when you switch on the motor, you are not able to get the water. That is called as negative externality. In this area, when we promote the aspect of renewable energy, we have a bright chance to promote what is called as positive externality. The benefits will get carried forward in manifold perspective. That is why we are more concerned to move forward and have the intent relating to promoting something labeled as the word called as the so-called renewable energy as an alternate source in which we are going to meet not 1 or 2 but 50% of India's energy demand. So this area, please be very specific as such, right? So with this, we'll just move on to next question. Question number 6. Elaborate the scope and significance of food processing industry in case of India. Now, this question is based on FPI. Again, the content of FPI, if you look at the syllabus, they have mentioned this word very clearly. Many a time we blame UPSC, come on, they are very, like stringent people, they don't do things properly and all. But reality is, they are the one helping us to do things very comfortably. They say go through syllabus, you will win this exam. That is absolutely true. And whatever I am saying, no, in syllabus it is there, in syllabus it is there. Please go and check it. You yourself will feel that yes, this is there in syllabus and we are supposed to read the syllabus first thoroughly. And the question here is that elaborate the scope and significance of FPI in case of India. Food processing in case of India, why they are bothering and what is the need for this, how this is going to help the element of Indian rural sector. Sir, why are you saying rural sector? You all know agriculture is contributing to a largest amount of employment even till today. Whether GDP is coming or not, we are not sure. It is not coming. It has declined actually speaking. But employment in agriculture is increasing. We can say more than 70% of Indians are directly or indirectly involved in case of agriculture sector. When this is the element of question relating to agriculture sector, the biggest apprehension what we are having is how this agriculture sector will be getting benefited from this food processing industry. So this is the question what they are demanding. I hope you have understood the question in the right perspective. Now you know what is the demand of this question and what they are asking. Now we have to go for the answer making in such a perspective that it is covering all the domains relating to the aspect of food processing industry. The moment you do that, your answer gets completely over and there is no more amount of doubt with respect to the question asked by UPSC. So now let's move on to the answer. First is that what is the scope of FPI? Food processing industry is a type of industry which is again considered to be a sunrise emerging industry. Here the major focus is to increase the shelf life of agriculture produce so that it can be sold within the geographical boundaries of a nation as well as in the international market. This alone shall become the element of answer. Nothing more than that is going to come as an answer. This alone is going to help you in case of the answer writing. Therefore, let us move on to understand what is the scope of FPI. FPI will help the rural farmer. Earlier, his produce used to get completely wasted within a short span of time. Now, we are going to increase the shelf life of the so-called commodity. When agriculture product is being subjected to an increase of shelf life, that will help us to do a tremendous amount of possibility in which the farming section, agrarian section, rural India will get the benefit. Now, what are the steps in case of food processing? Number one, processing the food. How to make it in such a perspective that it can be sold in the domestic market and international market will be the first area of understanding. How to do that? How we have to go by the aspect of processing, we should know in case of the food processing industry. Number two, we are questioning on the aspect of preservation. What are the chemicals, what are the ingredients, what are the food grade preservatives which are permissible, which can be used to preserve the commodity. For example, they are using vinegar in case of pickle, like that. How to as such preserve the food commodity so that it can have a long shelf life. Number three, packaging of the commodity. So we need to ensure that we are fulfilling the international and domestic standard of packaging so that the food is having an attractive value. Normally speaking, they say attractiveness of a commodity will pull more buyers than the quality initially. Because when the outer cover is too attractive, we are having the obsession to buy that immediately. That's what is the common psyche of every human being as such. Everyone, when they see something attractive, we try to own it. The same logic holds good in this area. Now, what is the content? So, processing, preservation, packaging. At last, where is the element of demand for this commodity? Economics is always bothered about some questions. Number one, what to produce. Number two, how to produce. Number three, when to produce. Number four, where to produce. Number five, for whom to produce. These are the area where we are having the apprehension. What to produce, how to produce, when to produce, where to produce, for whom to produce. We should know these things. Then only the so-called element of economic activity will become viable. I'll tell you the reason behind this. Let's take. There is a deep village in case of Chhattisgarh. In that area, they are opening Apple iStore. So Apple products are being sold inside the Chhattisgarh village. Cost of iPhone like 14 Pro, 1.2 lakh, 1.4 lakh, they are selling above a lakh. Just tell me, do you think even a single buyer will come and buy the phone in Chhattisgarh village which has been subjected to all extremism? Worst case, what will happen? Only the militant will come and arrest the members and take all mobile phone. Therefore, first question is they should know as such this particular production is being done where we are going to sell this commodity. They should know. Next, they should know when to sell the commodity. During festival time, the demand will be more. Non-festival time, demand will be lesser. They should know when. Number two, they should know how to produce it. It should be based on user-friendly nature. And next, they should know what to produce. What is the current demand? What if it is been given to the public? People will feel comfortable. At last, they should know who are the targeted population. Only when you know these basic tenets or basic questions as such raised by the economist as such, you will not know whether what you are doing is right or wrong. Right or wrong is based on these what, how, where, when, for whom. These are the primary ingredient which we need to fulfill to give an answer. Until otherwise our answer fulfills these conditions, until otherwise our answer is giving a finite solution to these area, it is practically impossible to understand the success of food processing industry. If at all you want to make a tremendous amount of success, these are considered to be inevitable part. These we need to analyze, and until we analyze these things, success cannot be made in case of any industry. Now, what is the content of food processing industry? How it is going to help others? For that we have variety of answers. In that first answer is that increase of the farmer's income. That becomes the first area which needs to be highlighted in case of this particular paper. Farmer's income will be getting increased. Farmer's income, which is again constructed to be a great amount of deal, will have a great amount of increase for sure. So farmer income, why it needs to be increased? Nowadays we witness a great amount of suicide among the farming community. Many members commit suicide, and this suicide can be controlled with the advent of food processing industry. Sir, how is it possible? Generally speaking, a farmer commits suicide not by taking huge loan and all. They don't take 11,000 crore loan and all. They are taking a small loan. Let's say 10,000 rupees. Loan amount. Agriculture is having a lean season. No big income from agriculture. Now, farmer has to repay. Consistently, bank staff comes in trouble. Farmer commits suicide. Just to imagine, if farmer is given employment in case of food processing industry, he will feel highly comfortable to make a grand amount of success in terms of earning the money and repaying the loan, and his suicide rate also will come down. So in this area, farmer's income is not a stable income. You should know 50% of India's agricultural land is still unirrigated. We do not have irrigation facility. When that much of difficulty is there, sometimes speaking, increasing the farmer income is one of the best choice available, which will promote the aspect of so-called farmer's income and saving the farmer from commission of suicide. Next is that it will provide employment which is called as non-farm employment. Non-farm employment. Generally, farm employment is having a problem which is called as disguised unemployment. See, all the terms I am connecting here because you should know the element of why each heading is being mentioned in this area. So generally speaking, we are being subjected to disguised unemployment. What do you mean by that? The number of farmers will be there. Suppose let us assume 100 farmers will be there. If 50 walk out, remaining 50 if they are working, then also production will be of the same level only. Quantity will not increase, quality will not increase, nothing will increase. When that is the scenario, why we have to go for having extra 50 labor? Extra 50 labor will hardly have any amount of impact. For that reason only, we say consistently that the issue relating to the aspect of farmers are subjected to disgrace unemployment. Therefore, when you bring the element of food processing industry, it will give highest amount of employment opportunity, which itself is seen as a mega success. Next one, here whenever we are going for food processing industry, you will start exporting your commodity, and this in turn will get boosted by way of FPI. Whenever we are having the food processing industry, we have a bright chance that our commodity will be exported. We will try to mint money by way of exporting the commodity outside India, and this outside India commitment what we are having is again seen as a big boon promoting the aspect of growth of Indian economy. Next one, global presence of Indian food product. So whatever content is there, we are able to find a tremendous amount of success in this area. Once you bring the element of food processing industry, we have a grand option that the question relating to global presence comes into picture. We are able to make a biggest viable solution. Most of the areas we are able to find a big amount of fruitful choice because of the emergence of this particular food industry. Therefore, time and again we can tell the message that food processing industry will increase the brand value of India in the international platform. Next one, whenever we are going for food processing industry, we have a big option of food security. Normally, many food item which is being cultivated by the farming community is getting destroyed because of lack of proper storage, and the so-called shelf life of that particular commodity is very low, and we are not able to increase that. After the involvement of food processing industry, we are able to increase the shelf life of the commodity. Whenever we are doing the increase of the element of agriculture commodity, that will do tremendous amount of success. And again, a fact in this area, India is considered to be 6th largest food and grocery market. What not you need? See, you are having everything. Nothing is considered to be a minimalistic area. Everything is considered to be viable, a possible thing. Therefore, we feel that the question relating to the aspect of this particular domain needs a great amount of enhancement, failing to which this particular sector, food processing industry, if you neglect, you are missing a golden opportunity. Indian spices are always in great demand, not only now, even during the element of colonial entry into India. Most of the colonial people, they came to India because the spices available in India was in a great demand in the European market. So many thought when you bring the spices from India, let's say when they buy for 1 lakh rupees, they can sell for 40 lakh rupees during the time of British entry. I am saying a time which is almost 300 years backward. At that time itself, they were able to make more than 400 times profit in this area. 40 times the profit got increased. This much of increase is again considered to be a big amount of viability for those people when they penetrated into India to have the element of control over the Indian subcontinent. But now we are having big choice, no? Spices are there, we are able to cultivate spices. Whenever spices are there, if you increase the shelf life, make a proper packing, convert the product into the element of demand of various member, you have a big chance that these spices will be subjected to a big amount of demand in the international market. Next is that food processing industry in case of the rural India will give cheap labor and good employment. See, they are ready to work for 200 rupees a day, ready to work for even lesser than this amount, because always they have a belief that something is better than nothing. Something they are getting, no, they are happy to work. And that too, when you are giving regularly a work, they will not leave you, because they know getting regular employment in case of the rural area is itself a Himalayan task. Nobody can do that. When you are able to make that practically possible, they will definitely appreciate that and they will come for the employment. Next is that most of the food items are getting wasted in case of India. Most of the food items, we are not able to preserve it. We are not able to contain it, and we have a big apprehension why it is happening. One is that government of India does not pay much amount of attention in case of controlling the waste. Waste is increasing, tremendous amount of waste is there, and we are not able to have any amount of control on those regions. And to have a big amount of control, food processing industry will be seen as a panacea. So what do you mean by panacea? Panacea means it is called as one-stop solution for all your problem. So whatever problem you are having, for that there is a one-stop remedy available that will be labeled as panacea. In this topic they have an opinion that the question relating to the aspect of food waste can be controlled, can be contained the moment you are going for introducing FPI not only in one part of India but in the various segments of India. Wherever you go, whatever you are doing, when you are able to make a large amount of contribution or large amount of activity which is controlling all wastages, it means if you control waste, it is equal to producing more. When you are having more production, all will get the benefit, which in turn will promote the growth of economy to a very, very large extent. Next, when food processing industry is working vibrantly, when there is a great amount of presence of food processing industry, it will help us to control something called as malnutrition. Malnutrition will get controlled. Malnutrition will not have a problem because whatever shortages we are facing, that will get trimmed and controlled. This becomes one of the biggest option why we have to promote food processing industry in case of India. Time and again why we are talking on this is sometimes the malnutrition what we are having in case of India is much worse than the malnutrition of sub-Saharan African country. We all thought only Africa is poor, but now compared to Africa we are having great amount of content in which this issue relating to the aspect of malnutrition is not being properly addressed. Therefore, to have a good amount of control, government of India needs to have a proper amount of strategy of FPI so that the children, the newborn children, the future human capital of India will not face the malnutrition problem in the days to come. Now, how to conclude this answer? We need good investment. First issue, always speaking, what is the lifeline of a business means investment. Blood of a business means investment. Without investment, we have no choice as such. So investment will decide everything, and investment will help us to achieve everything. In this arena, when we are being subjected to so much of investment, then only we can find fruit of this FPI. If you want to witness the fruit, you need to ensure that you are pumping capital. Without capital, you cannot do it. First thing. Number two, definitely speaking, information communication technology will be the enabler to help the so-called food processing industry to flourish. If you want FPI to flourish, usage of ICT is inevitable. Without using that, we do not have an option to achieve tremendous success. At last, most importantly, Government of India needs to give some support, some tax concession, some amount of tax holiday, some amount of liberty in terms of taxes, some rebate, some specific land given at cheaper rate, or giving services like electricity, water and other basic needs at affordable prices. Maybe when government is giving all these support along with a good amount of commitment to do not only for the present but also for the future, will definitely enable us to go for something called as food processing industry, right? So again, a small recap with respect to the batches. So July 13 we have the commencement of batch, and this batch will be an English batch, and we will cover the syllabus completely. So I'll be also handling the syllabus in case of polity and other areas as such. We will have a complete amount of coverage. It will be an English batch as such for one whole year. You can just contact the academy and they will assist you in terms of the admission. And then we are having one more thing as such where UPSC subscriptions are available in case of the Sriram's IAS, and when you use the code Sriram's in the element of this batches as such, for the GS and optional, you will be having a tremendous opportunity wherein which you will be able to get 25% discount and go for the element of preparation. Now we have seen this area. We'll move on to next topic. Question number 7. Okay, so students, suppose any doubts if you are having, do post in this area. Right, so we will just go for the next one as such. In this area, we will deal with question number 7. Distinguish between capital budget and revenue budget. Explain the components of both these budget. Now, budget is the term what they are asking. And if you look at the syllabus, there will be a word called as government budgeting. So whenever I used to take class for the GS subject 2 and 3, I used to take by syllabus, because syllabus will give a brief amount of idea. In that they are asking distinguish between capital budget and revenue budget and explain the components of those both the budgets in a detailed perspective in about 150 words. That's it. A very simplistic question. Normally speaking, when you see these type of questions, no, you have to jump in joy, because you are being gifted with these questions which otherwise in case of economics they can twist you to a large extent. When you get such a type of easy question, then it is a message that we have to secure good amount of mark in the examination, right? Okay, how we will start this question? How we will write is, we have to write about the budget and article 112. What we will write, for example, the word budget does not find a mentioning in the Constitution of India. First word you hit on the head, no amount of if and but. The word budget does not find a mentioning in Constitution of India. It is called as annual financial statement. It has been presented every year in case of the Parliament and state legislature, and article 112 deals with these provisions. That's it. The very first line what you write will tell that he knows the element of polity, he knows the functioning of the budget, and he has explained in terms of articles also. That impression you create into the minds of examiner. Because I have evaluated so many papers in UPSC, very few papers impresses, and other papers always look mundane. When paper is mundane, no, we do not have any big amount of curiosity to see the other things. When we ourselves do not have, the aged people who are above 55, 60 who come for evaluation, they too will not have it. That is why time and again I say, do go for making things attractive. Try to impress the member. That impression what you create initially will give you grand amount of success. Nothing will give more than this area. Be very specific. Now we will go for the distinguishing capital and revenue. So first thing is that Government of India earlier had plan and non-plan expenditure, but now we are having the element of expenses divided into two categories. One capital, number two revenue. This you should write initially. Now we spoke about the old one, we spoke about the current one, we also spoke about the budget, we spoke about the constitutional provision, and we said budget is nowhere available in the Constitution of India, and we also spoke about annual financial statement. These are the content which we have spoken elaborately to explain the provisions very clearly. Now we are done with this. After commencement of this, we are having a next question relating to how to understand the question in terms of differences. What they are asking, what is the demand of the question? Generally speaking, what aspirants will do in this area is, they will start writing about the budget. The budget will start with budget speech. Then the finance minister will come and read out all the provisions of the budget. Then it will be thrown open for general discussion. Then the element of parliament will be given a small leave and the matter will be referred to departmental related scrutiny committee. Then each ministry will come and ask their demand. Then they will be giving the approval for each thing. Then appropriation bill will be passed to pass all the demand of all the ministry. At last, finance act will be done to implement the new taxes of the government. This sometimes aspirants write. I will say do not write this. See, I have explained everything and I am saying don't write this. Why? Because you are deviating from the question. This input what I said to you will be in your mind also. Come on, they asked about budget. I don't know the key area. Better I write about the budget completely. If you do like that, then you are fully wrong. You are not supposed to do in this perspective. So how you should write? Just cover the core area. What they are demanding, cover that alone and then come for the answer writing. That is more than sufficient to do enormous amount of success in this examination. So now we are done with this formulae. We are going to move into the main body. What we will write? What is revenue and capital way of differentiation? We will speak. Generally speaking, revenue and capital are two ways in which expenditure and income can be differentiated. Am I right? So we are having two content. One, it is called as the revenue, other is called as capital, and in these two methods we can go for differentiation. We can identify that these are the two areas where differences are found as such. First thing is that what do you mean by revenue expenditure? Revenue expenditure is something wherein which we have the option of making the expenditure again and again. So the term what we use for revenue expenditure is called as recurring expenditure. So repeated expenditure, that thing will get repeated. We do not have any amount of control over that. That type of expenditure will be called as revenue expenditure. Simply speaking, sir, from which perspective I have to take it? Because I'll tell you why a confusion will come in this area. For example, if I use the word salary, I have taken the word salary. If I tell plainly salary, it can be interpreted in two ways. From individual point of view, salary is a revenue receipt, income for it. From government point of view, salary is a revenue expenditure. Now the question is, they are asking to distinguish between revenue and capital. And I am saying that revenue and capital can be differentiated from government point of view, so that you will not have ambiguity when expenditure is being mentioned here. So revenue is recurring in nature. Revenue will not have any amount of asset creation. It is spent only to maintain a given asset. That is where revenue expenditure comes into picture. Now we are done with this area. Additionally speaking, we will go for the next one called as capital. Capital expenditure, the very basic term says there will be some amount of change in the asset and liability in the balance sheet. Capital expenditure is non-recurring. It will happen one time or very rarely, and capital expenditure as such will create a new asset or reduce an existing liability. For example, if I buy a land for, let's say, 1000 crore rupees, Government of India is buying land for road project. That is called as capital expenditure. Once they buy it, they will not do it repeatedly and all. It will be once in a while expenditure for the road project. On the other hand, when we are having the element of payment of salary to all government teachers, it is revenue expenditure, because every month, whether school is there or not, we are supposed to pay the salary to the teachers as such. This conveys a message that in this area, the aspect of revenue and capital are getting differentiated. So we should write what is revenue, what is capital, give the meaning of both the terms, explain with some example to make the content look very clear from the examiner point of view. Next, revenue budget. What will happen in that area? In revenue budget, we will write about all expenditures which are recurring in nature. Sir, what is recurring? The word recurring means repeating in nature. Some expenditures will not happen just like that. It will keep on repeating as such. So whenever an expenditure is getting repeated, that is called as recurring expenditure. And recurring expenditure as such is considered to be a big amount of headache for the government, because in that revenue will not be mobilized, rather only expenditure will happen. Consistently, when only expenditure is happening, that is again considered to be a big amount of headache. Therefore, government agenda is to ensure that in revenue, whatever we are getting as a income, we can go for expenditure. If not a surplus in revenue, we should not go for deficit. For example, to operate Indian Railway, let assume 1 lakh crore is the expenditure, but revenue from railways is 91,000 crore as the revenue. So totally when you see the loss, it is 9,000 crore. Tell me, what is the purpose of this area? At least railways should get the revenue to meet its own expenditure. Forget about the investment made by the government, capital infused by the government, or the profit what they are expecting from the railways as such. All these things set aside. At least they have to ensure that railway is running to make a revenue to meet railways expenditure. But many a time, even this basic thing railways is not able to do. For that reason only, we are telling time and again that revenue budget should be either a balanced budget or a surplus budget, but deficit should never come. Sir, when we will have a surplus budget in this area, that can be again interpreted as a provision. For example, if you maintain all the assets perfectly, then the wear and tear will be minimal. Then the amount of money spent to maintain the asset also very minimal. That is the reason they say again and again that this particular revenue expenditure can be as such reduced. If you are having an obsolete machine or obsolete technology, in that you are pumping money again and again, that will not give the yield what you are expecting. Next, in revenue budget, you will not have a question of asset creation. Generally speaking, it will be done only to maintain the staff, maintain the department, maintain the office. More than that, the question relating to assets will never come here. That means what? Those expenditures are not as such asset creating, just for the livelihood, just for the maintainability of a given particular heading. We used to go for expenditure, and that is being labeled as what we call as the so-called revenue budget. Next, what is capital budget? Capital budget will either create a liability or it will create an asset. For example, you are taking loan from World Bank. Let's say the loan is 20,000 crore you are taking as a loan. 20,000 crore loan you have obtained. On the other hand, you are purchasing a great amount of machinery or plant as such, and this plant is having a worth of more than 10,000 crore. When you buy a machinery for 10,000 crore, your asset will increase. When you are taking a loan, when you are having a liability to repay the loan, among the two, any one impact you will witness whenever you are going for the element of capital budget without fail. Next, these are non-recurring in nature. We will not take the loan of 20,000 crore every month from the World Bank. World Bank also will not give loan to you on monthly basis. They will give you once in a while. This indicates that whenever we are having a question relating to the aspect of so-called content in case of the budget, we need to be ultra cautious. In this area, they tell time and again that capital budget is always in the nature of non-recurring. It will not have the element of recurring repeated area. Now, what is the conclusion? Earlier, government was involved in plan and non-plan expenditure. By way of doing away with the 5-year plan, we have entered into capital and revenue as the flow or the difference of heading as such for expenditure. The moment any expenditure which is becoming unwanted gets highlighted, it is easy for the government to trim all those things and achieve a surplus budget or at least a balanced budget in the days to come. You see how we have concluded the answer. we spoke about the budget, we spoke about the differences. At last we are telling that by doing these things we can make a tremendous amount of achievement in terms of bringing a clarity in the government spending. Now we will deal about question number 8. This says, discuss how emerging technology and globalization contribute to money laundering. A big problem in case of India. Technology, globalization contributing for money laundering. Elaborate the measures taken to tackle the problem of money laundering at Indian level, national level and at international level, otherwise called as global level. What we have done to achieve something in these two areas. Generally speaking, we have to make some amount of content. Okay. So in this area, we will discuss about the content on how to proceed for the element of money laundering. Simply speaking, what is money laundering? See, money laundering is one simple area wherein which you all know the topic on money laundering, because laundering is a word which we use commonly in our household. When you have a dress which was a used dress, we used to give to laundering so that they will clean the dress and give it to you. Yes or no? Likewise, when you are having a black money. What is black money? Any money which is undisclosed money, which was not subjected to taxation by authorities in India, that will be called as black money. Now you are having black money. This black money is being sent to other country illegally. From there, the money comes back to India as if it is the legal money, a white money, and then they make investment in case of India. Then that will be labeled, or that will be called as money laundering. Now the question is, globalization has promoted the money laundering. Technology is promoting money laundering. What we are now supposed to do to handle the problem? And they are asking, please tell me the measures what they have taken domestically and internationally to address this problem of money laundering. So money laundering is a serious problem. We need to tackle this. We are not as such in terms of just leaving this area. Why? Because money laundering may involve even drug trafficking, terrorist financing, or we can go for misusing the money, which is again detrimental not only for India but for the whole lot of entire world. The world will face the heat of this issue to a largest extent. Therefore, we are not supposed to go for this area. The question in this topic is then how to address the issue. How to actually address the issue and how to handle the issue. In that they say the emerging technology and the element of globalization, though it is contributing, the domestic and international steps slowly and gradually will combat this money laundering, which will again bring the aspect of the dirty economy getting moved or pushed away from the so-called entire world. First thing, what we will write about money laundering. Money laundering is a process wherein which undisclosed, untaxed money which will be subjected to a wrong way of earning the money will be sent to other country and brought back to India as if it is a legal way of investment. First point regarding money laundering. So money laundering, even you can split the word money subjected to the process of cleaning, wherein which the black money will be converted into as if a white money. Please understand, black money is different than fake currency. Fake currency is something in which RBI will not be the person who has printed the currency. Fake currency means what? Currency printed by government of Bangladesh. In that some miscreant will do the work. In case of Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, somewhere if you get the currency, Indian currency, like original, when they sell the so-called color printed copy, it is a fake currency. Then what is black money? Black money is all money printed by government of India. If you go and check whether the note is genuine or not, everybody will say note is genuine. There is no doubt in this. When note is genuine, when we feel the comfort in this area, it means it conveys a louder message that the same element of money what we are utilizing will give the question of as if it is a genuine amount of transaction wherein which the money will not come under the radar of tax authorities. Generally, the question right now is they are asking online payment, digital payment, PAN card, everything to buy jewelry, to buy anything as such. Now what happens in this area, the aspect of money laundering we are not able to control because still India is based on cash and carry business. There are many jewelry shops in India which will not ask for PAN card. If you pay them good amount of money, they will not even bother. Even when you buy jewelry worth more than 1 crore using the so-called black money, they will not question you. Maybe an income tax or ED comes and searches your property, you have some 1 crore worth of jewel, that time you will be getting caught. That is another part of story. Otherwise speaking, in this area, you will not have any amount of issue where the so-called black money is getting utilized. The system is not foolproof. If you go to Gulf country, they are having a strongest mechanism to control all this money laundering. But in case of India, system is not that so strong. When they are knowing that money is being subjected to money laundering, they give toughest punishment. The punishment acts like a deterrent. They are not able to have any amount of control. Rather, in this area, the content is that we need to be more precise in understanding the area relating to money laundering. Okay. Next is that we will have the content relating to the aspect of now the question relating to the domain of body. How we are going to move forward and have the content on this area. The topic is body. So body, in this we will deal about how we are promoting the aspect of the so-called black money. First is that digital transactions may promote black money to a large extent, because we do not know what is the source, what is the origin of a given currency, and this in turn will have a great amount of impact resulting in the black money getting circulated. As source and origin are not clearly available, digital transactions may also result in promoting the black money to a very large extent. Number 2, cryptocurrencies are again a biggest threat in modern day. I hope you all are aware of something called as bitcoins. Bitcoin. So what do you mean by Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is an example of cryptocurrency where they are going for digital currencies as such. This digital currency as such will create a big amount of activity in which we will not know from where the fund is going. We will not know in which wallet the fund is being maintained. And there are possibility that one may maintain multiple wallet. When you do all these things with the advent of technology, we have a big possibility that the question relating to the aspect of black money or money laundering is again a highest possibility in this area. So again and again, time and again, this cryptocurrency will also come and do a big impact in terms of modern technology promoting money laundering. Next, what we have is called as smurfing. I hope you all know what is smurfing. What they will do is the entire amount, whatever they are having, they will divide it into small investments, or they will make it a small funding. Let's say 1 crore will be divided into 100 account holders and they will deposit small amount of money. When they are doing like this, it is very tough for the income tax authority to check these type of transactions, as they are not considered to be high net worth transaction. When the transactions are not high net worth transaction, it is sometimes considered to be a very tough task in terms of identifying the source of income. At that point of time, even formal banking system can be used to promote the aspect of so-called money laundering. And then we have dark web. We do not know from where it is activating, how it is functioning. All these things are being kept in dark. When all these things are being kept in dark, we have a big apprehension that dark web may also contribute for the emergence and for the dilution of what we call as such the question relating to money laundering, because these dark web as source, origin, network, server, nothing is known. They can use the online platform very conveniently to just go for the aspect of black money. Next, they can go by hacking. So we are having the question of hackers. The question is that sometimes they are called as ethical hacker, and many times they do unethical hacking. So ethical hacking or unethical hacking will be one of the reason promoting the growth of this type of black money. Again, we have a big possibility of proxy server. So they will be working in one server, but when you go and trace it, some other server will be identified in some other country. So sometimes speaking, it is very tough even to identify where these people are there, from where they are coming, how to go for these area. All these things, it is very tough to decode. When we are not able to decode these things, definitely speaking, in this area, the content on the so-called issue relating to the domain of money laundering becomes tough to identify. Now, how globalization is contributing to money laundering? What are the areas? In that, first one is called as tax havens. So Cayman Islands, Mauritius, all these things are called as tax havens. What do you mean by that? Suppose if you establish a letter pad company, a company only letter pad, not in reality. This particular company, when you establish in Mauritius, you bring the money from Mauritius and you come to India for investment. Compared to Mauritius and India, you have an agreement called as double taxation avoidance agreement. Now, either you can pay tax in India or you can pay tax in Mauritius. The investor is given the liberty to choose in this area. When investor is given the liberty to choose in this area, he can move from India and tell that I will pay the tax in Mauritius. But actually speaking, in Mauritius, we do not have the option to pay the tax. So what happens? Neither he paid tax in case of India, nor he pays tax in case of Mauritius. In both the area, he escapes from the liability of tax payment. So consistently speaking, this particular tax haven will give the opportunity to promote the so-called money laundering in the international platform. Next biggest headache what we are having is there is no mutual cooperation. Countries should be working hand in hand to stop something called as the aspect of money laundering. But consistent amount of effort what they are doing to combat money laundering is not able to give a yield, because we are working in such a type of platform where we are not able to identify and tell how this mechanism is working, how one is able to cheat in both the country. That particular cheating mechanism is happening only because of lack of coordination. The members do not have coordination. The members do not have any amount of mutual give and take in terms of the data. They used to maintain the confidentiality of the data of all black money because they feel that revenue is of great use to them. I'll give you a small example. Switzerland, as you all know, is considered to be a country subjected to great amount of, in Geneva, we are having all this black money getting deposited. Whenever we say black money, we say will be in the Swiss bank. The reason is that in case of Swiss bank, whatever amount you go and deposit, and if at all there is any amount of inquiry, government will not reveal your identity. And number two, when you die, that money will be taken by Switzerland government. As it is a black money, you cannot go by nominee and all, what we have in the Indian bank account. So by default, sometimes international countries' lack of cooperation is also promoting something called as what we term by the term money laundering. Number three, origin identification is very tough as such. I'll give you a very simplest example what we do in case of India. In the Indian Stock Exchange, we have something called as P notes. Participatory notes. Participatory notes are something where an investor outside India can come and park his money in the Indian Stock Exchange. His identity will not be asked. His investment will be made via a qualified institutional investor. he will take a small commission. He will make the payment to respective investor. But government of India will not know who is the person which has actually made the investment. So sometimes speaking, money laundering is getting promoted even in these areas. Now what are the steps taken to control the money laundering? In that, first step is called as NDPS. Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. In this area, all the issue relating to drug trafficking, all aspects of money laundering in case of drugs are getting controlled to a larger extent. Number 2, PMLA. So what is PMLA? Prevention of Money Laundering Act. In 2002, again in 2005, the act got amended. And again we are having Benami Transaction Prohibition Act of 1988, which says very clearly that all Benami transactions shall be curtailed to a large extent. These and all we have taken as a step to control money laundering. But still, despite these laws into picture, we are not able to combat this thing. And then globally speaking, Financial Action Task Force is there, and OECD Forum, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Forum, is working day and night to ensure that money laundering is getting curbed to a largest extent. Now, when money laundering is there in case of India, it will make monetary policy and fiscal policy highly ineffective. It will promote the dirty economy to a largest extent. Therefore, combating money laundering in case of India shall be on a war footing basis to ensure that economy is functioning in a vibrant manner. This vibrant manner is again a possibility only when you abolish something called as this particular money laundering. Otherwise speaking, what will happen? Economy will face turbulences to a large extent, which is why we need to combat the aspect of money laundering. So this is what will be the answer for this area. Now we will have a look upon the next question. What are the salient features of NFSA? National Food Security Act 2013. How has the Food Security Bill helped in eliminating hunger and malnutrition in case of India? This is the question what we are having in this topic. National Food Security Act, and why we are having this, that we will discuss. Before that, a small message in the admission. So 15th July, the question relating to the aspect of last date is there. 25% you will be given discount in this area. Do contact the academy, all details are available. And then on 13th of July there is a batch, an online batch fully in English. You can contact the academy, they will assist you in terms of the admission process and other things as such. Now the question is based on what are the salient features of National Food Security Act and how the Food Security Bill is going to help in eliminating the hunger and malnutrition in case of India. That we will deal initially. Okay. Now coming on to the features of NFSA. See, National Food Security Act, why did the government bring into picture? Many times we have witnessed people are dying without the aspect of food. Food becomes a toughest task for them. Therefore, we are finding death among the members. So government thought no more it can be a oral legislation. We have to make an act to tell that food security will be ensured to all the members. And in that they are asking the features. Straight I will write all the points as a feature. Next question is how food security bill is helping to address two problems. Number one, the problem pertaining to hunger. Number two, the problem pertaining to something called as malnutrition. So these two things we will discuss. If done, our work is over. So now, what is NFSA? National Food Security Act. India is witnessing huge amount of malnutrition. India was not able to make tremendous amount of success in this area. Therefore, we have gone for something called as National Food Security Act in the year 2013. Almost 10 years got over after bringing NFSA. Why we need this act is right to food no more can be ignored as it constitutes a basic human right. Every individual is having a right to eat food that cannot be ignored. Therefore, right to food security or right to food got legislated as a basic right. Now we will deal the provisions of NFSA one by one. These are given by Government of India. So authentic data. We can utilize all these data in case of the examination. Number 1. PDS is now governed by the provisions of NFSA. First point. Public distribution system, what we call as fair price shops, the ration shops, will be governed as per the provision of NFSA. Without this content, without NFSA, the guideline PDS system will not function. Point number 1, be very sure in this area. So we are more well obsessed in ensuring that PDS is working based on NFSA. Number 2, coverage under the PDS is delinked from erstwhile poverty estimate. Erstwhile means former. Former poverty estimates, whatever we had, based on that we used to go for PDS. But now under the current arena, the PDS system is getting delinked from poverty estimate. So poverty estimate per se has been subjected to a new revamping, a new rehauling, and that is being done as per the provisions of Central Government National Food Security Act. No more it is based on the old method of poverty estimation, what the government was doing to supply the rice, wheat and pulses to the poor people. That is what the key word what I am using here. It is being delinked from erstwhile poverty estimate. Then this particular act will try to cover as much as 2/3 of the country's total population based on 2011 census. So 2021 we are supposed to go for census, but because of pandemic and other thing, the proposal got dropped as such, and now we are talking from the 2011 census as act was been there 2013. So 2/3, 66% of India's population will be covered based on this. Next one, we are having one more thing. 75% of rural, 50% of urban population will be entitled to receive highly subsidized food grain under two categories. Number 1, Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Next one, priority household. So priority household, Antyodaya Anna Yojana. These are subjected to a great amount of area. The moment these are being covered, the moment these are being taken care, we have a broad amount of structure that the question of most of the people will be taken care. See, we are going to cover 66% of India's population. In rural India, we will take 75%, urban India 50%, and we will divide the beneficiary into two categories. Antyodaya Anna Yojana, that means these people are the poorest of the poor, right? On the other hand, priority household will get the food at subsidized rate. This will be the intention of the government to provide the content at a very cheap price. Next one, state-wise coverage was determined by erstwhile Planning Commission, now Niti Aayog, on the basis of 2011-12 Household Consumption Expenditure Survey done by NSSO. NSSO in 2011-12 they have gone for a Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. This particular consumption expenditure survey will become the base for all the states and UT, where we will be going for something labeled as the content on planning the NFSA targeted beneficiary. Who will get the benefit? Who are the desired population to enjoy the benefit? That will get identified not based on the old input given by the state, rather it will be based on the current input given by NSSO. NSSO data will become highly sufficient data to go for the estimate. Then we will go for the element of 35 kilogram of food grains will be identified as per Antyodaya Anna Yojana household per month. And for others, priority household, for per person they will give 5 kilogram of food grain, either in terms of rice or in terms of wheat. It will be covered as such. This is the formula what we are having for the members coming under this particular PHS, priority household categories. PHH category is called as priority household category. So this is again another domain relating to the aspect of and the topic in NFSC. Next one, the identification of beneficiary or the household under NFSA is being done by the respective state or UT, which is required to frame its own criteria. So when you identify the beneficiary, you should tell what are the parameters you are following. Blindly speaking, you can't take a free ride. You can't tell that, come on, I have these things in mind, I will do it. No, you should tell the criteria. They should not possess TV. They should not have a individual house. They should not file income tax more than 3 lakh rupees. Like that, we have a great amount of list. When all the list is getting enlisted, if they fulfill all this criteria, then you can declare them as poor, or you can call them as the priority household or Antyodaya Anna Yojana beneficiary. How we are able to arrive at this number? Because we know that these people are being subjected to extreme level of backwardness. That is why we go for this area. Next one, highly subsidized central issue price of 1 rupee, 2 rupees and 3 rupees for the grain, for the wheat and for the rice respectively, and this will remain changed until 2019. The act says very clearly, price will not get increased. Inflation may happen, cost of procurement may increase, anything may happen, but we will ensure that the price is having a good amount of control. We will never let the price to affect or bring a hole into the pocket of poor person. This assurance has been given by the government in this act. Next one, no reduction in the food grain to any state or UT under National Food Security Act, and any allocation gap are covered with tied over allocation. If at all somebody is having a gap, that will be taken care by the government. Therefore, food grain they will not reduce. Whether they like your state or they don't like your state, they will ensure that the government is giving the food grain on consistent basis to all the members. Additionally, we also have a point that the eldest woman who is above the age of 18 will be called as head of the family for the purpose of issuing ration card. The ration card, the card which will discuss about the element of distribution of this food grain on monthly basis, they will give it in the name of the woman. This was asked in prelims exam also, whether eldest woman will be the beneficiary for issuing ration card. Absolutely yes. This point is there as per the provision mentioned in the NFSA Act itself. So therefore we can tell confidently that this provision will promote these areas for sure. Next, grievance redressal mechanism. We will be having state food commissions, then we are having DGROs, we will be having vigilance committees at different level who are being provisioned for women empowerment. So these committees, these bodies will take the responsibility to ensure that women are being duly empowered as per this piece of legislation. And we are having the provision of disclosure of records relating to PDS operation, placing of beneficiary list in the public domain or portal for enhanced transparency. What are the things required? That will get subjected to largest amount of celebration based on this formula. Everything will be made transparent. Everything will be made open. Therefore, we have a big option to ensure that nothing goes wrong. At last, assistance to state or UT for meeting expenditure on intrastate transportation, handling of food grain and FPS dealer, fair price of dealer's margin, government will take care. Government will ensure that these are happening on a routine basis without any amount of apprehension. When these are being guaranteed, these features are becoming a matter of celebration. How food security bill will have an impact? child stunting got reduced from 47% to 34% between 2015 to 2019. Odisha, Uttar Pradesh have made remarkable achievement after the entry of NFSA, where they have reduced the aspect of poverty and hunger. How to conclude this area? Generally speaking, NFSA is a wonderful piece of legislation covering a mammoth population in terms of food security. And this food security, which is considered to be one of the basic human right, when guaranteed, shall give multiple results. Foremost important thing is that the future human capital who are being right now subjected to malnutrition and poverty can be helped to come out of these issues, which in turn will promote the quality of life to a large extent. Therefore, this is seen as a laudable measure to address the problem of disadvantaged and weaker section. With this, conclude the answer. So your answer should be in this perspective without any amount of apprehensions, right? So with this, we'll just wind up for the day. We'll meet in other class to discuss other areas.